All right, well, thanks for joining today. With our walkthroughs, we like to issue our GVO Safe Pasture Statement, basically outlining that our recommendations are going off of NetSuite's best practices. And although each account is unique with various modules and features, we like to come at it as though we are working with a generic out-of-the-box NetSuite edition. And as always, we highly recommend that anything that you do, make sure you test it in Sandbox before you push it forward to your production environment. All right, and our first speaker today is Renee. Renee, would you like to give a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Renee Lindscheid. I have been with GVO since 2017. My background here is I've got a production operations management undergrad, but also I have an MBA in supply chain operations. Prior to coming to GVO, I actually had over 20 years of experience kind of sitting in an end user seat in both electronics, biotech, and retail industries, anywhere from purchasing, warehouse management, distribution, and planning and forecasting. Here at GVO, I am one of the senior Boost consulting managers. So working with a group of individuals who are specifically focused on client accounts. Outside of the office, I am married with 2 college-age children. I absolutely love coaching volleyball, attending Badger volleyball games, and volunteering within my community.
All right, thanks, Renee. And next up is Ashley.
I'm Ashley Blackford. I joined GVO in 2022, bringing with me around 10 years of experience in logistics and finance with an MBA in accounting. Currently, I serve as a finance consultant on the Boost team, where I get to help our clients streamline their accounting operations. Outside of work, I'm spending time with my 2 boys or baking and experimenting with new recipes. When I'm not in the kitchen, I love getting lost in a great book.
Great. And next up is Carl.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so Carl Metzger, I've been with GVO for 6 months now, so fairly new. Prior to that, I spent 10 years doing various ERP-related tasks, largely in manufacturing, distribution, construction, doing more client-facing work with GVO. My role is referral partnerships manager, which has me focused more so on our relationships with vendors and partners that enhance what we do and bring different skills and tools to our clients. I have 3 daughters, so most of what I have listed there as interests are mostly just, archival historical things and not actually relevant to anything I get to do much of these days.
Sure. Well, thanks so much, Carl. And my name is Matt Connery. I started with Go Virtual back in early 2022. I am a certified NetSuite administrator with a background primarily in e-commerce, working on various website platforms ranging from Shopify to SuiteCommerce. I am a functional consultant on the Boost team, and some of my hobbies and passions include camping with my wife and 2 dogs, running around after my 2-year-old daughter, Catherine, and watching the Green Bay Packers. All right. So again, today we're going to primarily focus on the 24.2 NetSuite release notes. And we're going to start off with some general updates, moving along to user interface updates, followed by commerce, supply chain, finance, and lastly, we will finish it up with interviewing Carl, who was able to attend SuiteWorld 2024 this year in Las Vegas, just to get a little bit more insight about his experience there. So, all right. So as we get started here, I wanted to first bring your attention to a portlet that we really recommend that you add to your dashboard prior to any release season. It's called the New Release Portlet. And in it, you can find more information about your account's specific scheduled release, your release date. In it, you'll find release note documentation. Typically, NetSuite will publish a PDF that they do update periodically over time as updates are released. And we do always highly recommend dropping this portlet onto your dashboard to stay current, to be aware of any of those upcoming changes, either to existing functionality and some of the latest features being introduced as well. And we do also highly recommend that you request a release preview account so that you can go through your testing, validate any changes that may be affecting such things as your integrations or existing customizations, just to make sure when that release occurs that nothing breaks. And if it does break, you'll have a heads up in advance by working in the release preview account. All right, so with the general updates, we'll start with those. We included a number of tiles here that you'll see, but we're going to hand select a few to really highlight and dive into more detail about. So I'll give you a moment to see those. All right. So a couple of new roles are now available to accounts. The prerequisite is for those who maintain an active NetSuite ERP cloud service subscription. And a quick note is that they do come with an add-on fee. So you'll want to speak to your account rep to determine your costing. With that said, these new specialized roles are both the CRM role, which is a standard role. It's got predefined permissions, which enable you to manage sales, CPQ, marketing, and other CRM-based activities. So again, if you'd like to explore adding that to your account, speak with your account rep or someone here at GVO that you've worked with in the past, and we can get you the pricing on those. The second role that's added is the view and approve role. This is a user who is granted limited access to NetSuite, and they can tackle basic tasks such as viewing or approving reports. And this role can be granted to a manager to help with approval routing and things of that nature. But it is pretty limited. So these are two new roles to explore. All right, another relatively big general update that we wanted to highlight today is the outbound single sign-on. NetSuite is ending their support for outbound single sign-on in 2025.1. They're giving everybody a advance notice on this. Actually, this has been mentioned in a few releases leading up to this. If you may have noticed that as of 24.1, the support for Suite sign-on has ended for non-production accounts, sandbox accounts. So they're slowly deprecating it before they stop their support in production. Just to give you a little bit of context about what this functionality is, it has to do with integrations, and it's been the primary authentication method for NetSuite users who have been accessing external web applications within the NetSuite interface, and it doesn't require additional authentication. But as of 2025, they will no longer support Suite sign-on. It's the reason for it is basically enhanced security features and advanced functionality, such as token-based authentication. The new process is actually called NetSuite as an OIDC provider. OpenID Connect, OIDC, is a protocol that allows users to use a single set of credentials across multiple applications. It's going to provide more industry compliance. But if you have any questions about NetSuite's required action item for getting your account ready for this, please either post in the Boost forum and we can respond to your questions, or reach out directly to our team. There are some great step-by-step articles within the Help Center that I've located that I encourage you to read up on if you're not aware of this and you know that you have existing integrations in your account. But we are available to help as well. All right, the next topic is case management. There's been some changes to the support case management interface within NetSuite. Updates pertaining to include the ability to restrict access to the external case response page, as well as a change in verbiage for specific case management preferences. For example, it's no longer entitled receive customer replies in case list. It's now it's now changed to prevent support reps from receiving customer replies by email. Basically, all that to say, essentially what that means is by default, unless updated in your preferences, customer replies are naturally stored on the case record. So there are just changes in functionality, nothing major to consider here, but I'll give you a minute to read this over. All right. Okay, so one of the bigger updates in 2024.2 that we've noticed here is that they're making the Customer 360 page a bit more robust. They're including enhancements such as an enhanced timeline view, new charts, customizable dashboards, improved search functionality. Basically what Customer 360 is, if you're unaware, is it's a complete 360 view of the customer. It includes their financial information, transaction history, and other related data to the customer themselves. Can be accessed in a number of ways, either via the customer record or switching to the Customer 360 view on their customer dashboard. So again, there are just enhancements. NetSuite's really working to make this functionality more robust. So that is exciting. And here is a quick example. This is actually in the new Redwood theme, which we will touch on as we talk about the user interface updates. You can see here there's all things customer, their sales this year, all-time sales, their overall customer profitability, top selling items that they've maybe purchased on your e-commerce store, things of that nature. Really allows your customer support reps to have a window into the particular customer that they might be speaking with at the time to help them with sales or guide them on their journey with you. All right, text enhance cleanup has been added to more fields. Basically, this is AI, which NetSuite's been talking a lot about AI. A lot of software platforms have been. Basically, text enhance has been added to nearly 200 fields throughout NetSuite. We're going to show more examples of this in our upcoming user interface section. However, this falls within general updates, so I wanted to make sure to make mention of this. We will have some slides showing how this works. Basically, it's self-explanatory in that AI is present on these fields to help spell check, format your lists, potentially your web store descriptions, cleaning up your notes, things of that nature. So, but we do recommend that don't rely heavily on AI in the sense that if you use the text enhance, make sure to read it over before you save the record, because things can get maybe not the way you intended them to be in the description. Maybe AI goes a little bit too far with describing things or formatting things in a way that you don't necessarily want to save. So always double check your work when you leverage AI in NetSuite. All right, a few quick notes regarding changes to subscription functionality. There is now an email alert section within the subscription save search, which aims to alert the user when a change has occurred to a subscription line and or a change order. Let's see. Additionally, there's now a summary section on the subscription page outlining the total contract value, TCV there, as well as some added pricing detail to basically to help your end users better understand the amounts that they're being charged for in their subscriptions. Just more transparency has been added to this. All right. And we also have new Ship Central capabilities. There is a natural integration with Ship Central that you may or may not leverage in your account already. But we really just wanted to give a high level understanding of some of the new capabilities. There's now packing by waves, mark as shipped option for packing. And there's also some new capabilities, which include shipping with the best rate, shipping hazardous materials through USPS, and tracking shipping packages a bit easier. All of these details are outlined within the Help Center and the NetSuite documentation if you'd like to learn more about it. All right. Well, thank you for allowing us to go over those general updates. Now we're going to move into the user interface updates within NetSuite. We are going to talk about the new Redwood experience, which NetSuite was talking a lot about in the last couple of Suite Worlds. Collapsible sections and enhancements to Text Enhance. Yes, we already touched on that, but we'll show you some examples. All right, so if you can see in the screenshots here, unless you're in NetSuite every day working, you may not notice this at first glance. But if you do, you'll notice that you can toggle the Redwood experience on and off within your specific user preferences. If you'd like to take a look, there's improved headers, icons, different charts and colors. Basically just changing the overall theme in NetSuite, not necessarily changing any functionality, but more of an appearance aesthetic there. So wanted to call that out. And these are screenshots from within the Redwood section as well. You'll notice that we are on a vendor record here, and you can collapse the sections themselves. It's pretty self-explanatory, collapsible sections, but it's really going to help. We think it's really going to help kind of keep all the information isolated without having to do as much scrolling, which could be really beneficial if you have a lot of work on one specific record without having to toggle back and forth too much. Should make the user experience a lot better there. So let us know how that's working for you as you try the new Redwood theme. All right, back to the Text Enhance, the enhancements to Text Enhance. So you'll see here, there's going to be a new icon here next to the various text fields in NetSuite. You may have noticed this in some other platforms as well. It's basically an AI wizard that will either help you clean up, generate, make your sentences longer or shorter. It is something, again, that we do want to caution. Double check before you rely too heavily on this, and I'll show you why here in a second. So right here we have a sales description, and we asked the AI to help us clean it up. What it did, if you look closely, AI actually added step 1, step 2, step 3. That verbiage was not there. AI literally enhanced it, but we didn't necessarily want it to add those steps. Basically, it made it look nice with the formatting, but it didn't really make sense in terms of what a sales description was. So we do, again, I'll say it again, really, feel free to use it, but don't rely too heavily on it, because it could change some things in your descriptions that you don't necessarily expect. And here's just an additional example. Something like in the comments section, that might be more internal facing. You don't necessarily, even though that's an option to clean it up, comments are meant to be, in most cases, unless they're being placed on a PDF or something customer externally facing, that you wouldn't necessarily need to clean up. It's more to help your sales rep with a note about a customer or something about an order. So, yep, use it, but take caution. All right, moving right along. We are moving into our commerce overview, where we're going to discuss some of the recent updates with regards to NetSuite Commerce. So we'll start with our SSL support for promotional domains. Promotional domains or promotional URLs, they're short, descriptive website URLs that, typically speaking, will link to specific categories or information on your website, online forms, for example. Prior, you'll see that they were not SSL protected, even though your entire e-commerce domain may have had an SSL certificate attached to it. The informational, or the promotional domains were not SSL supported before. Now they are. So you'll see here, the documentation has traditionally referenced HTTP protocol, whereas NetSuite now offers secure HTTPS, allowing more security and compliance for you. And that is not something that you have to take action on. NetSuite is going to roll that out. All right. SCIS, Suite Commerce In-Store. This is NetSuite's solution for point of sale. You'll see here in our GIF here what that would look like. That is not an example of SCIS, just an example of a point of sale system. So the release itself doesn't have any new features or functional changes to it that are visible to the end user at the point of using the point of sale system. And we also recommend that since SCIS uses a phased approach to roll out their new updates, you'll want to contact your account rep or NetSuite support for questions surrounding the timing of your particular 2024.2 rollout, as they roll those out in phases to its account specific. All right, and we did have, like I mentioned this earlier about the NetSuite's documentation with the release preview. The release notes. They do often update that. So we will go back as a team and just make sure that we're capturing all the latest updates. This one was updated recently on 9/16. Essentially what the user agent detection optimization is, when you go to a Suite Commerce store, there's a first load that occurs. Previously, both shoppers and web crawlers, when they would visit a store, the SEO page generator would pre-render the page, and it would cause a little bit of a hiccup or a quick. It was a noticeable lag that would occur when you would go to the page. Now that the user agent detection optimization, it's going to make this more streamlined in that it's only going to pre-render for those web crawlers. So when Google indexes websites with SEO considerations, it's only going to pre-render for them. So in other words, shoppers can skip that process and enjoy a quicker page load. It's something that's been noticeable for a while, so we're excited to see this roll out, and hopefully that'll lead to better SEO for our clients and everybody who uses a Suite Commerce store, so that it won't have to pre-render anymore, and it should be quicker. So that is exciting. All right, and we did want to close out our commerce updates, just letting you know that we have noticed over the course of time that when NetSuite rolls out its latest updates from going from 24.1 to 24.2, Suite Commerce updates tend to sort of lag behind the rest. So we constantly will go back and check that NetSuite PDF to see when those changes are rolled out. But all that to say is, even though your account may be on 24.2 already, your Suite Commerce store is still running on the 24.1 updates. Those updates, just to give you a quick recap, consisted of clear cart button and checkout. So that'll be just a quick button rather than having to manually close out each item that you've maybe have added to your cart. There's the ability within the configuration to modify your checkout flows, and there's some other functionality bug fixes, basically. All right. Well, thanks for listening to my updates with the general and user interface. We're going to turn it over to Renee for the supply chain updates.
All right. Thanks, Matt. So mainly we just want to go through high level, let you know what are some of the things coming down the pipe for anybody within the supply chain. Again, these things are only going to be relevant if they are modules or enhancements that you have available in your account. If they are something that is of interest to you, again, kind of the same thing. It's just reach out to anybody here at GVO or to your account rep for more details. Three big areas within supply chain for updates. We've got changes to inventory management functionality. There are enhancements within manufacturing, and then there are some updated suite apps that have been called out. So we're going to get started first with the changes that are happening within inventory management. Page. So some of the callouts within inventory management, there have been enhancements to warehouse management, supply planning enhancements, the SCM mobile, and then also enhancements to Smart Count. So we'll start first of all with the warehouse management enhancements. So within warehouse management enhancements, within the 24.2 release, users can now see the time for these following date fields within their Wave transaction. So again, if you're using Wave management, you can now see the create date, release date, and also the completed date of Waves. What you'll be able to do then is you can display these time fields within your WMS, and you'll also be able to see them within the time zone and the time format that is in your preferences. So kind of in the past, if you were in a central time zone, but the system was set up for Eastern, you weren't able to see that. So the system is now going to be smart enough to look at what are those formatted preferences within your account so that you're not having to figure out, am I 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever the difference is. We're also going to be able to, with this update, the updated Wave search can now include the filtering of whether the pick ticket has been printed. So by being able to set this filter, you can generate list of Waves with or without printed pick tickets. So it's kind of nice to be able to really limit that down and reduce any noise if you don't want to see those picked tickets. Next, within the warehouse management app updates, there have been enhancements to the following, which is renaming of a WMS limited access role. Within that access role, it's only going to rename it to call it special user WMS. If you have already customized that role within your account, there is no change that will be made. So again, if you previously had the special user role and you changed it to your account and said the warehouse role, you'll see no changes to that. You're just going to see the standard out of box role has been changed. Again, it's not going to change anything within the configuration roles or permissions. The change to cycle counts. So within the, whoops, sorry, we can go backwards on that page for just a little bit. The cycle count updates, you're now able to generate the plan from a mobile process. Kind of previously you had to start all those within the UI. Now you can start that plan within your mobile app, and you can create counts for up to 10 items at a time. To also further enhance your cycle counting on the app, you're able to activate a start and complete count. Again, something that you weren't able to do before. And again, that then makes the counting available to your counters in the warehouse so that they know when those processes have started, and then the ability for them to mark them as stopped. There's also changes to scheduling your bin replenishment. So you can create and run schedules for bin replenishments within the UI. When you create the schedule, you're also able to specify what that frequency, the start time and end time of the replenishment. You're able to receive notifications if that replenishment was successful or if it did fail. And what it will do is it's going to generate a task that you can see on your end on whether or not something needs to be executed. There is the ability to do auto lot numbering on your work order assemblies. So the auto generate lot numbers rule can now apply to generating lot numbers within the build assembly mobile process for work orders. So when you enable that auto numbering, you're able to do that for the assembly build process on the app. So again, kind of specifying that these are kind of app-specific changes that you're able to see. With that, as well as there's also been an update to barcode scanning for utilizing of bulk serial numbers. So the scan barcodes with bulk serial numbers rule enables you to scan an item barcode with up to 50 different serial numbers now. So when you receive a purchase order, you can scan that serialized barcode without having to enter or scan each serial number separately. And then finally, we've also got the changing of bins during order picking. So again, when you're on the app, if you're doing from a sales order or even a transfer order and having to pick, you're able to pick partial quantities from a different bin. So if you start going from one bin, you don't have enough units and you need to go to a different bin to finish your pick, you can now tap on an other bin and you can choose which bin you're pulling product from. So with any of these to kind of activate new system rules within the 24.2, there is a help topic for system rules for NetSuite WMS. So again, these updates are all very specific to the WMS functionality and module. So moving on then to our next topic, we've got some updates to supply planning. Within these, there's kind of three big ones. So one is kind of the ability to combine your order quantity and your lot sizing options. So the new release or this enhancement allows you to have distinct minimum order quantities and lot sizes. It's going to give you more flexibility when you're doing your purchasing. It's going to help you align your production needs with purchasing requirements, even if they differ. So therefore, if a customer has an MOQ, they're able to migrate to a combination of MOQ and also lot sizing. So again, if you have to order at least 3, but also in multiples, you can get that information in there and help you from a setup perspective. Next, there's new functionality within the workbench filters. So the supply planning workbench, you're able to view records for now, including filters of both firmed and unfirmed orders. In the past, you weren't able to filter to those. It's going to give your supply chain managers more control over, seeing what potential impacts there are in the overall plan. They can see what those unconfirmed orders are coming down the pipeline in case they do want to take those into consideration. And then finally, the next piece on that is extended planning horizons. So the new release is going to allow you to extend your planning horizon. Your purchase order in the past, the lead time was limited to just 1 year. Now with the new release, you're going to be able to extend that even further for long-term forecasting and inventory management. All right. So those are changes that are happening within the supply chain. Next, we've got enhancements to the SCM mobile. So a couple of call outs here. You have the ability to highlight table rows with colors. So the SCM mobile is going to provide 6 standard colors that you can use to highlight your rows of data and tables. Again, it's just going to give you the ability to further enhance how people are utilizing the mobile and things that you want to be able to call out. And just more of a user-friendly display. You also have the ability to assign printer groups to printers. So you can create these printer groups and assign them to one or more printers that are available through the printer node client. Now, be very specific that you need that printer node client set up in your account to do these. You can create these groups for dedicated printers within your areas of your warehouse, with different zones in your warehouse, or even specifically to teams in a specific location. With that app, you can set the default printer, and then during printing, you can specify a different group or choose a printer that you want to send that data to. Again, with those, there is more information within mobile printing setup procedures within NetSuite. Another enhancement is the attaching of images and files to custom records. So before you had the ability to attach images and files to kind of standard transactions and records in the account, you now can do the same thing and attach them to custom records. So that's kind of a nice enhancement. If you've made modifications to your account and you've got a custom process, you now can attach those images or capture files and uploads within the mobile process to those records as well. And next, we've got the ability for exporting and importing through the standard mobile process. So again, you can import and export to other accounts that use the same mobile app. For the standard processes, you can export and change any page elements through the mobile configuration. So again, more information on this is available through the SCM mobile setup. Next topic that we want to cover are enhancements that were made to Smart Counts. So within Smart Counts, a WMS user can now use and define zones and aisles for their counting activities. Your accounting lists are driven by saved searches. So you can use different saved searches per location and different count criteria per location. So you're not limited to what you are looking for. You can also assign recounting activities to specific users. So the mobile app is going to show item description and a display name. So instead of just the item name number, it now gives you a little bit more detail when you're doing that on the app. It shows total quantity counted by your item and your location. And then it also displays the available lot numbers for a bin. So those are a couple of great enhancements that you can now see. Since it is blind count, it at least lets you know what are those lot numbers that you're being asked to count. We do have a couple of call outs within the Smart Count enhancement. So on that next page, we just wanted to really kind of call out that in a recent call that we actually had with NetSuite support, we found out that because the Smart Count is part of the WMS, this is only going to work properly when you have both items and locations using bins. So if you have a location that uses bins, but a specific item in that location does not, the item will not show up on your count list through the WMS mobile app. So again, these are just a couple of things that we've identified as working with a couple other clients as they've already migrated to 24.2, trying to figure out why we're seeing some inconsistencies. And these are a couple of the call outs that we've seen. So maybe just a call out is really understand, if you're utilizing WMS, is this process going to work correctly for you? And those are conversations that you could have with, any of us here at GVO to kind of help guide you towards, will that Smart Count enhancement be something of benefit to you? All right. Next, we're going to jump to a couple of the updates that are happening within manufacturing. Within the manufacturing, a couple of callouts are the ability to there's restricting copying of bill of materials, and then a couple of manufacturing enhancements. So the first one in regards to a copying bill of materials, manufacturing bill of materials are no longer included when you are copying an assembly. The reason that functionality has been removed is because rarely when a new assembly is being created is that people want to be able to copy the BOM and bring it along. Generally, it's just because there's similarities within the attribute of the item itself. And so what was happening is that the behavior was very inefficient. It was very prone to having errors. People were forgetting to remove the BOM or make updates. So go forward, NetSuite is no longer supporting the creating of separate bills of materials through copying. You just manually have to go through and create those now. So that is the update in regards to copying bills of material. Next, we've got the enhancements that are happening. These enhancements are only for accounts that have enabled the advanced BOM feature. And so when you have the advanced BOM feature on, you do have now the BOM revision defaults on work orders and also assembly builds and unbuilds. And so what's that mean is that bill of material revisions will be able to default on your work order. So based off of whatever date and time range you're using for those builds, it's going to automatically tell you that this is the revision of the work order, the revision of the bill of material that is applicable. On the revision dates, it'll also show up, like I said, on your assembly builds and unbuilds. The system is going to be able to correct your work order operation start and end dates. So with that, again, it's going to look at the timing of when that BOM is applicable and what your start and end dates are for your assembly. And then also finally, the correct work order operation start and end dates. That's going to take into account your production start and end dates, looking at your working hour. So kind of using the work calendars within the system, seeing what's assigned to the first operation, and then determining what are the correct length of time remaining then for that assembly. Okay, we go to the next page. So next, and the final piece is that there's a couple of updates to suite apps, and those areas are within inventory management, manufacturing, and then the wholesale distribution. So within those updates to the suite app, the first of which is within inventory, there have been changes made to the quality management system. So again, if you're someone who's using the quality management, they've made those enhancements a little bit more user-friendly. There's still more work that's going to be coming on them. But again, if you are within the system and something that you want to look into is a QMS, reach out to us and let us know about that. We've already touched on the changes within SCM enhancements and Smart Count. So again, reaching out, that's something that you are interested in using. And then finally, just kind of looking into some of the manufacturing ones, we can kind of see what you've got in here. We've really kind of touched on each of these a little bit, but the ability to reach out and find out more about these topics if this is something that's of interest to you. All right. And that's all we got for supply chain.
Thanks, Renee. All right, we're moving on to Ashley. Ashley, could you give us some insights into the finance updates?
Sure. Thank you, Matt. The release notes outline several finance-related updates, as you can see here. Many of them are repeats from 24.1, and some of the features are not yet available. So today we're really going to focus on the more significant updates, as we did in some of the other sections. So if you want to move forward to the agenda, we will be covering today the payment automation enhancements, the cost variance analysis suite app, electronic bank payment enhancements, and bill capture enhancements. So the updates to the payment automation is now that the suite app actually supports multiple subsidiaries, and I know this is something that a lot of people have been waiting for. So if you have a One World account and you have multiple US subsidiaries, you can now actually apply for HSBC accounts in each of those subsidiaries, and you can process payments from each of those subsidiaries. This also comes with the ability to set different preferences for each of those subsidiaries. There's now also the ability to create and process vendor prepayments through the payment automation. And the bill record will now include visual status tracker to check the status of payments. So when payments to vendors end up with an ACH return or a data error, you actually no longer need to void the payment and reinitiate it. You can actually just reprocess it. There are some enhancements with the email notifications. So now you have the ability to designate email recipients to receive notifications from the Payment Suite app. And there are also email notification alerts for when payments are delayed due to processing errors. Next, we will talk about the cost variance analysis suite app. So the suite app is now available. The suite app actually analyzes variances during the processing of work orders, specifically the differences between the planned values and the actual values recorded for quantity and cost in work orders. So the suite app is going to give a cost variance analysis page, and there will be sub-tabs displaying the variances for component costs, manufacturing operations costs, and the cost types for work orders. Next, we will cover bill capture. So there have been improvements made to the scan vendor bill page and the review scan bill page. So for the scan vendor bill page, they have actually increased their threshold. So you can upload PDFs of more than 5 pages. It is suggested that for best performance to limit the files to no more than 30 pages. The review scanned bill page. So for those improvements, there have been improvements to the subsidiary vendor and location mapping logic. So this is to help improve accuracy for matching. So for example, the sender email address, customer address, and customer zip code are now considered during mapping. The scanned bill information can now be overwritten with the content of a purchase order. When one is linked. So, and this can actually be controlled by a new preference that can be turned on or off. And you can require the bill to be reviewed, or you can allow the bill to be created automatically. There are also additional functionality in relation to POs. So when reviewing items and expenses, a PO pop-up window will show the item and the expense name in the header for better clarity. It'll also show item description, units, and rates carried over from the PO. And if the review scan bill page does not match the PO, there will be a warning pop up. There's also additional functionality that allows you to delete multiple item lines and expense lines. And then there is now support for custom segments. So this includes sourcing and filtering with the custom segment. And that includes for the primary information of the transaction along with the line information of a transaction. And last, we will cover the electronic bank payment enhancements. So there have been some new filters added to the bill processing page. There is an amount from and an amount to field that will allow you to filter your required payments based on the bill amount. There is also now the functionality to set approvals for roles instead of individual employees. And there will be an additional functionality to actually override the current vendor payment approval routing that is set in the accounting preferences page. And that is all for the finance updates.
All right. Thanks so much, Ashley and Renee. We appreciate it. All right. Now to round out our 24.2 release notes town hall, we wanted to do something a little fun today, and we are featuring Carl, who is our colleague who was at SuiteWorld 24 this year, just to get a little bit of an idea about the topics that were covered and his experience there. So, Carl, this was your first SuiteWorld. What was your overall impression of the event and the SuiteWorld 2024 theme?
Yeah, it is a software conference that is certainly on another level, especially considering it coincided with Oracle Cloud World. It was a huge event, and the keynotes were held in the same tent structure that hosted the NFL draft, and just navigating the event felt like attending a highly anticipated sporting event. And as for Vegas, love it or hate it, it is built for these events, and SuiteWorld consumes a good portion of that central strip, and it sends you up, down, and across for all the accompanying events. I had never been to an ice bar. It turns out Las Vegas has not one, but two ice bars, and I went to both within a 24-hour span, which for a Wisconsinite in 103-degree heat was a welcome reprieve. I honestly could have slept in there. But as for the theme itself, all systems grow. It was duly celebrating the fact that NetSuite has passed the 40,000 client mark, as well as the overall mindset of the client community. While this was my first SuiteWorld, it's not my first software conference, and it's been pretty interesting to watch the overall themes evolve from pre-COVID digital transformation themes, where maybe going paperless in and of itself would have been an achievement, to COVID, where the themes focused on businesses pivoting and very much on survival, to now all systems grow, and a much more positive and innovative vibe that seeks to push the envelope and explore how these tools can really actually help businesses compete and really thrive. It was echoed in the product keynote as well that client growth and success is the overall goal for NetSuite. At these kind of events, I spend a lot of my time seeking out the client stories and panels, because I want to understand how companies are feeling about the product, their markets, and how they're leveraging the product, and what knowledge they're sharing with other NetSuite using companies. And one of those customer comments that stood out was from the opening keynote where they had Jess Wezzer-Sakara from Vitalize Health on stage, and they asked her what was the common denominator between companies that achieve the most with NetSuite. And her response was a single word, which was curiosity. And I really love that, especially in an era that will be defined by AI that we really have yet to see or fully understand the impact of. It will take curiosity to discover and deploy the opportunities that technology enables. And I think curiosity captures the spirit of the Boost Forum users, the inquiring minds in this community that want to learn and try new things.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like Oracle and NetSuite had a lot to celebrate this year.
Certainly.
If you don't mind, could you maybe summarize a couple of the headline announcements from SuiteWorld 2024?
Sure. And our team today already touched on both of these a bit, but Redwood was a significant amount of the opening keynote was dedicated to Redwood. I'm new, but my understanding is that this Redwood interface has been a long time coming. It's a development. As a development, it's an exercise in both art and science aimed at optimizing the visual aesthetic while also hopefully providing some tactical performance improvements by eliminating things like endless drop downs. We got to see it. It's clean, it's modern. The goal is obviously to give the overall interface a renovation, but without changing it so much that it's unrecognizable and more confusing than it is helpful. Evan Goldberg, the NetSuite CEO, said himself during the keynote that the best UI is no UI. So the emphasis is on a reduction of friction and non-value added tasks, clicks, and scrolls, while making what remains as intuitive as possible. So, Matt, you told them earlier that they have access to it. They can try it out. They can adopt it at when they're ready. Yep. The other thing is AI. We can't avoid talking about AI. It was pretty much everywhere and baked into almost every conversation, for better and for worse. However, from a high level, as we all try and wrap our arms around what AI will mean for NetSuite, we can start to distill the overall direction they're going based on the long list of current and future features that they did announce. At its core, that direction of AI within NetSuite is going to be as a facilitator of your NetSuite interaction. You won't need to know as much about the granular details of going, finding, generating, formatting the information you're seeking. You're going to be able to do a lot more asking of the system. Another thing to be cognizant of is that it's not a single all-encompassing solution. It's many individual solutions aimed at specific tasks or functions. So as such, I think companies will need to rely on their subject matter experts in these various areas to stay on top of AI and challenge themselves to seek ways to leverage AI. For me, AI comes back to that curiosity comment. I was at a different conference a few months back, and the speaker said, AI won't replace anyone's job. However, people using AI will replace people not using AI. And that idea is one that I keep coming back to as I observe things like SuiteWorld 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that. All right, we'll round it out with one more question for you. What new product or feature would you say you're most interested or coming away from SuiteWorld this year?
Yeah, maybe surprising. I'm going to veer away from the AI because I think we talk a lot about those things. Guided learning isn't a new feature. It has been available for providing step-by-step instructions at the point of use, and I think there's already over 350 pre-existing learning guides for those common processes and procedures available. However, if you've ever read through a software instruction guide and thought, that didn't help me at all, or it didn't really get to the point of that scenario for my company and how we do things, they're now rolling out these enhanced guided learning with what they're calling NetSuite Guided Learning Managed Service, which will allow companies to tailor the guided learning to the organization. So my ERP background is much less technical. It's much more on the people side, the training side. And so I just really appreciate improvements like this that I think are very impactful. I think tools like this can really aid in documenting that inherent tribal knowledge within a company or streamlining that onboarding process. So it's not the flashiest thing to come out of the conference by a long shot, but it's the kind of thing I like.
Sure thing. Well, thank you so much for your time and taking time while you're there to not only absorb everything, but give us a quick recap of your experience. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. So that concludes our town hall for the month of September. We will be back with a town hall in October the date on that is going to be Tuesday, October 8th, where we will touch on some HubSpot integration tools and our recommendations surrounding those. But again, we really appreciate your time today, and we do encourage you, as always, to prepare yourselves and your account for any upcoming releases. Again, you can request the release preview account. We highly recommend that. And then making sure that you've got a plan for release testing and having a partner that can help you make those changes to any existing functionality that may break or change when the account upgrades to the latest release. So we covered a lot today. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and I hope you have a great day.